Welcome to the Hunt Fish Travel Podcast, the first and longest running female hosted hunting podcast. Fresh off the ATA train and gearing up for sturgeon spearing, she's helping you navigate your trip of a lifetime. And now, here's your hostess, Carrie Zylka.
Welcome to the Hunt Fish Travel Podcast. I am your hostess, Carrie Z. And, as you've heard before, one of my favorite things to do these days is to check my app obsessively for the trail camera photos that keep popping up from all the SpyPoint cameras I have out on the lease. Well, this week's episode, we have editorial manager and good friend Trent Marsh on the line. We're going to talk about the Ireland trip that we went on, the Irish fishing trip that I scheduled with two different fishing guides that never happened, and then we're going to get into some SpyPoint trail camera questions and answers, and because I have some questions that I would like answered. I don't necessarily want to call them pain points or frustration points, but I'm sure like anybody who runs trail cameras or whatever, technology is never perfect. And I'm excited to have him on the line to answer all the questions that I have. So, Trent, welcome back to the show.
Always a pleasure to be here. Good to talk to you.
Yeah. So let's jump into Ireland first. So, had you ever been to Ireland? I can't remember.
No, Ireland I'd not been to. I'd been to England, I think, 3 or 4 times, but I had not yet been to Ireland, so that was a new one for me.
That's fun. So we put together a big, huge group tour with Go Ahead Tours. It was a week in Ireland. We did, let's see, what did we do? Dublin, Cork, and Galway, which was pretty darn fun, I must say. We were there.
There wasn't much. I mean, really the only city that we didn't hit that most people would think about would be Belfast.
Yeah.
But Belfast is in, they're friendly at this point, but Belfast is in Northern Ireland, not Ireland proper. So, some socio-political lines crossed to get there, but we saw the majority of Ireland over our week.
We did. And we did it we had our own bus, a big motor coach bus, which was nice. And I don't know, how many people were on the trip? Like 30 or something total, I believe.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and all lovely people. And all adventurers, like fellow adventurers and travelers like ourselves. There were some solo folks. My friend Kat she went by herself. And which was really cool to see, and just, I don't know, it makes me happy that people felt safe enough to go solo traveling. I know it's a big thing these days, and that always makes me happy too.
Well, and it's something that, especially like with Europe, a lot of people want to go and they don't know where to begin, and so they just kind of never do. And I went for the first time, so this would be my 3rd, 4th, 5th, either my 5th or 6th time to Europe. I went for the first time in college, and actually when I went in college, it was with EF tours because they do a lot of student tour stuff as well. And even then, as a young punk kid that didn't really know anything, I learned pretty quickly, because on that trip we did like 7 cities or 8 cities, something like that. And several of the places that I expected to really, really like, I absolutely hated. So being on a tour, you're able to and we did the same thing when my wife and I went to Italy in 2013. We did a cruise. We could have just gone to Rome for a week, and I'm sure that would have been fine. But having done the tour thing before and with so much in Italy that I wanted to see, we did the cruise route, which ended up just basically making the cruise ship a floating hotel that puts you where you want to be the next day, so you can go see what's there. And the same thing happened. I mean, Rome was great, and there are things I would go back to Rome to see, but if my wife and I were going to go back to Italy for a week, we'd go to Florence, which would not have been – it's not what I thought going into it. So before we get into any more of the details, like just for anybody that's thinking about going to Europe and is like, oh, I don't know where to start, or I don't know what to do, or whatever the case may be, definitely look at going that tour route. Start narrowing down where you think you want to go, and find, like I said, I've been with EF, their Go EF. They've kind of changed their name, but EF or Go Tours twice. And Brian, who was our tour guide, was awesome. Patty, who was our coach driver, was awesome. They do a really good job of balancing getting you to the places that you want and need to see, and then also like walking around cathedrals or walking around castles. Like, you can get some information just by osmosis and being there, but the guides really help explain, why is this important, and what are you actually it's a big old stone building that's 1,000 years old. That's cool. But if they help provide a lot of that context that you can't get if you're trying to do everything solo. So definitely consider going that route if it's something that you're interested in doing and would like to do. It's way more affordable than you think. You don't have to worry about driving. You don't have to worry about renting vehicles. You don't have to worry about getting hotels. Like, you just show up and there's somebody with a sign for who you need to meet up with, and they point you to the bus and they get you going, and then you can just actually sit back and enjoy yourself. If you're new to going, I can't recommend that course of action any higher.
I definitely agree with that. And I'd always wanted, I think Go has been on my radar for like 10 years or something like that. And I always wanted to do a tour, and I'm glad that Ireland was a good one, because it was, like you said, I can't say good things enough about our tour guide. And Patty. Patty was so amazing. She was so funny.
Oh, the one day that we had a fill-in bus driver was awful.
I know, right? I know.
It was, not awful.
But
That's
yeah,
overdoing it. But he wasn't Patty.
Personality that we were so accustomed to.
Right.
Yeah. No, that is a good point with the whole, I don't know. I don't know that I would do another tour like that again. I'd say never, but, you never say never. But I think our next tour like that is going to be Viking Cruises has those tours down the Danube or the Rhine, and I think I want to do the Christmas market one. And I think the biggest difference between that kind of a tour and a stagecoach tour is that you don't have to pack up your clothes ever from a hotel and go to another hotel and pack up your luggage every third day or whatever it is. It just stays with you. And I think that will definitely be one of the bigger pluses with a river cruise compared to stagecoach. I don't know. I think it'll be really cool, and yeah, definitely.
Well, and that was definitely the nice thing too. Like I said, that was kind of how we did when we did Italy. You know, everything was on the boat. You just got off the boat every morning, and you went and got on. You have this coach is going to the Vatican, and this coach is going to Pompeii, and you go get on your excursion for the day. And then you come back and everything's still on the ship. Yeah, that's definitely nicer than, because we were just in Ireland, so we were going everywhere on a coach. So every second or third day, make sure your bag's out by 7 a.m, and they'll get it on the bus, and away you go. It's not quite as enjoyable as just being able to walk into a stateroom, drop your stuff on the ground, and walk away. That's definitely more preferable. But if it's walk into, still being able to have that, the coach service and that kind of stuff, I have like I said, I've been to Europe 5 or 6 times, and I have absolutely no interest in going and driving the mainland. Zero, none whatsoever. Even England, which, like I said, I've been 3 or 4 times. I know my way around London, no problem. I'm not driving. I'm not going to. If I'm going to do something, I'm gonna make it easy on myself. It's not, because it's not really.
I hear you. Yeah, I hear you.
And at least there, everything's in English, or what passes for English in the UK. You get
Polish
somewhere
and
else,
like
and
Czechoslovakia,
exactly, it gets crazy real quick. Let's go visit Moscow and try to read a series of 26 consonants. I have no idea where I'm at right now.
Totally. Yeah, definitely highly recommend Ireland, that's for sure. I had an absolute blast. There were a couple of things that I wish that, and shame on me for not reading the itinerary a little bit closer, because when they said see Trinity College and walk past Grafton Street, I assumed they meant see it as in go into it and see the Book of Kells. No. It was literally walk past it and see it there. Like,
Right.
You know, because we were there just a couple days earlier, and we specifically avoided a few things because we thought we were going to see it on the tour, and then we didn't even get to see it on the tour, and we were like, damn it! Well, I guess that's a reason to come back.
Yep,
Oh,
you definitely pay real close attention to exactly what is on those itineraries.
Yep.
And if you go that route, the other thing, and I know, it was kind of a mixed bag with the folks that we went with. There's always options, right? Like, one of them was Glendalough, which you didn't have to go out there. You could have just had an afternoon in Dublin, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But routinely, what I end up regretting from trips is not going and seeing those things, or not going where there's a guy. And I'm a nerd. Maybe if you're not a nerd, then maybe that's fine. You just want to hang out in Dublin and do whatever. That's fine. But like when we went to Florence, it was basically Florence on your own. And we walked around. It was a beautiful city and we enjoyed it. But there was a lot of, I wish I could ask someone about this stuff. So if you do end up ever looking at those options, whether it's doing a cruise or doing, and you see there's all these optionals, and well, it's another $50 a person or another $39 a person, you are probably 3,000 miles closer than you've ever been to these places and may ever be again.
Yep.
Just spend the money and do it.
Literally.
Go see it, because the chances of you getting back there to do it again, very low.
Yeah, I 100% agree. 100% agree. I'm glad we did all the excursions. I think we paid for one and skipped one, but I think it was just a dinner and something. But
yeah, I think you did. I think there was one that was it? I think you skipped out on Galway when we went to the fort. Did you go to the dinner?
No,
at the fort?
Yep, went to the fort. No, it was one night where it was like dinner and traditional.
Oh yeah. Yep. What was that? It was. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you know why though? Because at that point, I mean, I love Irish food, but I was kind of sick and tired of Irish food, and I was like, you guys, I just want a freaking pizza, or something.
Well, and so the funny thing is, those of us that went, like, that was hands down the most disappointing meal.
Was it? So you picked a good one to skip.
You didn't miss good, like, some of the food was just absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
That place we went after the fort.
Oh, it was so good.
That was awesome. I'm one of my goals, like, just in general, for those that are new, this is their first time with Trent Marsh, is, first of all, I'm glad you've survived to this point in your life, not having to listen to me. But for those that do know me a little bit, I love to cook. And one of my winter goal is I'm in soup mode. Like, there's some soups that I've decided I'm going to master. And one of them is going to be recreating that, tomato chili, not like Texas chili, but did you have the soup when we at that place we had in Galway?
No.
Oh my God, it was so good.
Really?
Ridiculous good. Melody didn't have it either. She was regretting not having it.
Ugh.
She did the salad thing, which was just kind of okay. But that soup was phenomenal. So it was like a tomato bisque, but there was some roasted pepper element to it. And they used the word chili. It was really more of a roasted red pepper tomato bisque with goat cheese.
Yeah.
And it was incredible.
Huh.
Absolutely incredible. So that is on the figure out how to recreate that list from it. But yeah, the one you're talking about, the traditional music, that supper was very nyeh.
So, well, then I'm glad that I missed out on it. I'm not unhappy about that. We ended up going, I can't remember the name of the restaurant or the bar that we ended up even, but we ended up going to this place. It was he had just moved over from Italy, opened up this pizzeria. It was so good. And then we went across the street to this bar, and he was making all these fancy drinks, and the bartenders were so fun. And it was just kind of a nice break from the structure of everything. And it just worked out really well. And I was like, well, kind of sorry that we paid for it, but that's okay too, because whatever, it is what it is. And it all worked out in the end. We had such a good time. We really, really did. And I don't know. I definitely want to go back to Ireland, I think, at some point. There's a bunch of other places I want to see first, but.
So we did, again, we were Dublin, Cork, and Galway is where we stayed, roughly. Where, if you were to go, I know there's other places you want to go. Which of the three did you enjoy the most?
Oh, boy. Probably Galway.
Okay. See, we same thing. That was for us. You would, and we didn't do Belfast, so maybe it's not fair, but going into it, just like we did the Italian thing, like I would assume going into it, the place I'm going to want to go back to is Rome. It wasn't. Going into Ireland, I would assume the place I want to go back to is Dublin. It's not. I'd go back to Galway.
Yeah,
I'd go back to Galway. Southwestern coast was awesome. It was very, and especially, we kind of look at it through the prism of hunters and anglers, and even when we're not necessarily on that kind of a trip, like that was that's what that part of the country felt like. Like we're going over all these little bridges, and it's just like, okay, well, I know there's trout in there. I know there's trout in that river. I can tell. Even when we went to Blarney Castle, did you pay any attention to the bridge when we walked over Blarney Castle?
Totally.
Like, that river was they weren't huge, but that river was just absolutely chock full of 5 to 8 inch trout. Like, you could have had a good time there that afternoon, just, a little pack and fly rod in. So, that part of the country was very, very cool.
I agree.
Dublin felt small to me.
No, see,
like, I didn't know what to expect going into it. And it's not that I wasn't impressed and we didn't enjoy ourselves, but we kind of had the conversation, like, would we come back? And it was kind of like, it was nice to come. We literally, let's back up, like 14 months. When I saw you were putting the trip together, I took a picture of it and I sent it to Melody while she was at work. And I said, hey, Carrie's putting this trip together. You think we should go? And she goes, why are we not registered yet? Like, Ireland was kind of already like our next place to go list. And since we had our 10-year anniversary in the middle of COVID and we went all of an hour and a half to Western Michigan for 3 days for our 10-year anniversary, it was kind of like, okay, well, this will be our anniversary trip to ourselves in year 12.
Sure.
So we were excited about going, but, it really enjoyed it, but didn't feel like there was a wow factor. There wasn't that like walking up to the Colosseum moment or walking through the White Tower moment. It's a very different vibe if you've been to other places in Europe. It's much more chill. It's much more homey. It's like I said, Dublin, you could pretty much walk Dublin yourself in a day.
Well, and we did. So Aaron and I went 3 days early because I get bad jet lag. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to arrive Monday morning and be off to the races without dying for 3 days. And that would suck. So we went a couple extra days and I'm very glad we did because I did need that extra day. But then we had, we wandered around. I'm telling you what, I want to go back to Galway because I want to explore more. But for me, the highlight of the entire trip were those 2 days exploring Dublin. Dublin was amazing. The food was incredible. We found this like whiskey bar that has every single whiskey and scotch made in Ireland. And it was insane the amount. We did the whiskey tour. I forget God, I'm drawing a blank. What the fuck is the name of the
Jameson?
No, it was
I thought you did the Jameson tour.
We didn't. That was the other thing. So we went to the Guinness Storehouse on Sunday. I thought we were going to spend like an hour or two because it was closed on Monday and Tuesday. So I thought we were going to spend like an hour or two there. We were there for 6 hours and had just a blast. I am going to pull up whiskey distilleries in Dublin. I can't think of the name. And they just, Teeling. We went to the Teeling whiskey distillery and spent almost 3 hours there with the tour and the tasting and everything. And that was super, super cool. They were just taken over by like the younger members of the family. So there's hashtags everywhere. And I'm like, your marketing team is pretty young, aren't they? And they're like, yeah, they're all like 25. And I'm like, well, good on them, So I wish, now that I've seen a lot of Dublin, I don't know that I want to go and spend a ton of time there. But I wish we would have seen a lot more of Dublin on the tour because, yes, the historical aspects, the cathedrals and everything were really neat, but there's so much heart to that city that I felt in some of the local pubs, and just the Guinness Storehouse was super, 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 super cool. Super cool. And highly recommended to anybody who goes.
And it's another kind of for anybody that's looking at doing this tour or another tour or whatever the case may be, we were actually in Dublin for less time than other places because it's the city that you arrive in. So be careful when you're looking at the itinerary because it shows 2 days.
Yep.
And you're right. But one of those days is your arrival day.
Right.
And, it was for us, it was about a 6.5 hour flight, international. So by the time we got there, it was mid-morning. By the time you're on your coach at the hotel, settled, it's like 2 p.m. You've been up for a day because typically the tours, they want you on an overnight flight so that you arrive in the morning and you're right into things. But your ass is playing catch up because you just took an overnight flight. So your timing is off. You want to get settled.
Yep.
So you're not going to hit the ground running. It was the same thing when we did our cruise in Italy. We went into Barcelona, but we arrived like 6 hours before our boat left. I wish we would have taken a day or two to just get a hotel that if you work with a tour company, they're going to be able to tell you you're at this hotel, just call them. Like you can extend your stuff so you're not like necessarily have to jump all over a city to be where you want to be typically. And just make sure you give yourself some time to acclimate and maybe see some of that stuff because when I said, we had 2 days in Dublin, but we really had more like a day because you arrive, you've got a welcome dinner, and then you've got your next day is all tours. But that first day that you get there, your ass is dragging. So we were really only there for a day, and then you're up that next morning, and then you're on the coach to your next location. So be mindful of that as you kind of look at trips and itineraries. And if you see a spot where you're like, that arrival and departure, that may be a little tight, just bite the bullet, go in a day early and get things sorted out that way just to give yourself more time.
Yeah. One of the other reasons we went in early was because I wanted to go fishing. I wanted to do a cool fishing trip like in Ireland. I don't know. And it just seemed like a really cool place to fish. I figured, especially Dublin, all the fresh fish, and there's got to be commercial fishers and stuff. And there were quite a few fishing charters. Fortunately, they all suck. Shame on you, Ireland, and your fishing guides. So the first one oh my God, I can't even explain it. The first one that I reached out to was the Dublin Fishing Trips and Tours. And man, this guy responded to my emails nonstop, and he was like, do this, and this will be fine, and he's excited, and he cut me a little bit of a deal, and all this stuff, and I mean, I'm talking dozens of emails back and forth, and he's like, you got to put down a deposit, download this app that, and before I even downloaded it, I called the, who did I call? I forget, like some travel agency or something specializing in Ireland. And I was like, how do you put down deposits and stuff? And they're like, oh, you just use this app. And I was like, okay, downloaded it, converts American dollars into euros. So I funded the app and everything. And then this guy stopped responding, just like stopped responding at all. And this was 6 weeks maybe before we were supposed to leave. And I was supposed to go fishing on Sunday. And because we got in on Friday, a day to kind of acclimate and maybe get some food or whatever on Saturday. And then Sunday was supposed to be a fishing trip. Totally ghosted me. Then I go to his website and his website's down and all this stuff. And I'm like, boy, how do I get my money out of this app? Because I sure am glad I didn't send over the deposit to this guy. And it was even like, he was like, send it to this email address. And I'm like, it's not working. What's your phone number? He's like, here's my phone number. So I would send it through the app. And I'm like, it's not working. Can you just request it? And then he just ghosted me. And I was like, well, gosh, I hope something didn't happen to him or something, right? Like,
right.
He's an older gentleman. I'm like, who knows? The website literally went down. And I was like, well, shit, now what do I do? You know, we scheduled this to come in days early so that we can go fishing. So I reached out to this other one, this Howth fishing. And same thing. And I was like, do you need a deposit? And this was like 3 weeks before we were supposed to go. And he's like, no, don't worry about it because it's so close. He's like, I'll just have you pay cash when you get here. And I was like, all right, no worries. So then, a couple of emails back and forth, and I was like, I'm getting excited. It was like 5 days before, and I was like super excited to go. And he's like, yeah. He's like, I had a scheduling conflict. Do you mind doing it on Saturday instead of Sunday? And I was like, that's not a big deal. You know, it's fine. So kind of rescheduled a few things, and then so we get in on Friday, and this was like Tuesday that he was like, do you mind rescheduling? I was like, yeah, no problem. And then get in on Friday, and I email him, and I'm like, hey, just, you know, we got in or whatever, just let us know what time. We have to figure out the bus system here, and their transportation in Ireland's amazing, by the way, because we spent 3 days on
super easy.
The buses and stuff, and you just get this card, and it's incredible, and it goes everywhere. So I don't get any response, and I'm like, oh, maybe it's just a time difference. And then Friday evening, I message him again, and I'm like, hey, I kind of need to know where I'm going tomorrow morning. No response. It's like 5 a.m. on Saturday morning. I'm like, hey, I just kind of need to know what pier to go to or whatever. No response. No response. Fucking no response. I was like, what is wrong with you people? I want to give you $500 and you don't want to take my money? I don't understand. I just don't get it at all. It makes no sense to me how not even just one, but 2 fishing charters blew me off. I mean, my money's not good enough for them. It's not like it was per person. You were paying for the charter. You know, you're paying the whole money.
Right.
So it's not, you know what I mean? So it's not like, oh, there's only 2 people. It's not worth the $100 a person or whatever. I was literally paying for the 4-hour package. I just don't get it. I'm totally blown away. And I just don't get it. And I left them interesting reviews, and screw you guys. Oh my God. So annoying, because we would have come in Saturday instead of Friday, which it wasn't a big deal. The hotel that we grabbed was really nice, but still, it was just super annoying. Because then we switched everything around so that we could go Saturday instead of Sunday. And
right.
Oh, it was so frustrating. So frustrating. I don't know if that's the way it is all across Europe. Because, I mean, could you imagine that happening here in the States? You'd get roasted.
I mean, you wouldn't be able to stay open.
Right. It just...
Well,
it makes
the other
sense.
thing, though, too, and, you know, we didn't just get back from this. We did this in late June.
Right.
And Brian had told us, our tour guide, this was the second tour that he'd done without masks. And we were the first tour that actually didn't have to take a test. The re-entry requirement for U.S. travelers just ended. We were going to have to we were still kind of traveling under the cloak of COVID. So I wonder if that wasn't part of it, that it had been shut down, and they just ended up with a bunch of I wonder if they had stuff that was booked prior that he couldn't do anything, not to make excuses for him, because you can still answer an email or a phone call or whatever, but I wonder if it wasn't just one of those situations where, because we literally got there as Ireland was reopening, and I wonder if that didn't play a role in it too, where it was just they were taking information, booking trips, and then kind of all at once it was like, oh shit, okay, now this is all happening.
Yeah, well, and that's very a good possibility. But I mean, I literally had communication with him 4 days before we arrived.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
that one is more sketchy of the two for sure.
I know, and it really made me mad because he's got really good reviews out there, and 5 months ago he took somebody out. Well, screw you, dude. I don't know, and maybe because I'm American. One of my Irish friends did say, he's like, oh, that happens all the time with fishing guides. They're super flaky and they just don't care, and especially if you're American, which really sucks. So I was so excited,
right.
And I had so excited, and totally got my heart broken by them. Totally, because I was just so pumped up to go.
Which that's always how it works. It's always the thing you are most looking forward to on any given trip. That's the thing that either disappoints or doesn't happen or whatever the case may be.
I know. But whatever. Screw that.
It doesn't make it suck any less, but that's just kind of how it works.
I know, and I almost wish we would have either had a backup plan or even there was a fishing store right in Dublin I bought a bunch of stuff from where they would have rented fishing poles. So if we even just wanted to go to the coast and just fish, like we could have done that at least. But I mean, when you're in the moment, I don't know. So when we're going to Hawaii in December and we're going to do some fly fishing. No, I'm not bragging. I'm just saying, listen, stop it. Don't be jealous.
A little bit.
You're just jealous. It's fine. We're going to do some fly fishing for bonefish on the flats out there in Oahu. And instead of going with anybody, we're just going to try and do it ourselves and do a DIY and see if we can just figure it out and catch some fish on our own. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's so much less stressful. It's so much less money, And then you don't have such a small amount of window either. And you're not relying on somebody else. You can just go out there. You want to spend the whole day, that's fine. And if you don't catch anything and you think you're going to do better the next day, then go on Tuesday, or whatever. So I just think that'll be a better option.
That's probably the thing that worries me the most is, it's one thing, let's just pick somewhere in between. Let's do a Lake Michigan charter today. Okay, I'm 2 hours away. If I get the call and the weather ends up being trash, we'll reschedule 2 or 3 weeks. I'll be able to make it work. I'm a 9-hour flight from home in a place I am likely never coming back to. And anyone that has listened to me talk before knows that Trent's luck is going to kick in and I'm going to pay a deposit, never able to get it back, or we're going to go and it'll be one of those, we can get out, but I don't expect to really be able to do much today. Like, it's always one of those situations.
Yeah. I know. Yeah, sometimes just doing it yourself, I think, is just, if you can, anyway. So that was our Ireland trip and the Irish fishing trip that never was. Definitely recommend a group tour. Like, you did bring up a good point. If you're not sure where to go, or even if you're bad at planning. Like, I am a planner. Like, I am an itinerary machine. If you weren't an itinerary machine, this is perfect for you because they just take care of everything for you.
Yeah. So. And it's not something that, like, if you want to go do your own thing, you can. I mean, but there are certain times, when the bus leaves the city, you better be on it. There's that. But if you want to kind of just use it as a hybrid and, maybe you don't want to do the excursions, you're going to make it, okay, that's fine. You can do that, but at least use them to make sure you have somewhere to put your head and to take a shower and a couple meal options that are pretty safe and taken care of. And then you can, it's kind of a choose your own adventure. You can do the full on itinerary. You can find a happy median. There's just so many options. I can't recommend it enough.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, we are going to stop here. That was part 1 of a 2-part interview with Trent Marsh from SpyPoint Trail Cameras. The next episode, part 2, is a ton of information trail cameras. You're not going to want to miss it. Thanks for taking the time to listen in. And remember, you can find the Hunt Fish Travel podcast on any music or podcast platform. Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, whatever. Whatever you listen to music on, you can find my show. You can view the photos from the Ireland trip at huntfishtravel.com/Ireland photos, all one word. You can see more of my trail camera photos on the Facebook page, facebook.com/HuntFishTravel. And of course, you can find more general trail camera episodes on the podcast. Really, the easiest way is to go to huntfishtravel.com and just search for trail cameras because I have all the episodes posted there. You can see what number it is, and if you want to listen in your podcast app, you can scroll down to the number. I've done so many of them, and it's kind of a pain in the ass to try to scroll through the podcast player looking for those search words. If you have any really cool stories, even just about Europe, about Ireland, or you have cool photos or cool experiences or even bad experiences, hey, have you ever gone fishing in Ireland? That story would be cool to hear. go to the Facebook or Twitter or Instagram post for this episode and leave your comment or question there. You can leave a photo. I'd love to see some photos. Lastly, wherever you listen to these episodes, whatever platform, really a 5-star review is always appreciated. It just lets the platform know that if someone searches for a topic that I have an episode on, my episode should be the one that they listen to, which is always really helpful. The algorithms suck. They're always changing. So 5-star reviews for the podcast is always super helpful.